Hello everybody, my name is Wolf and I am the Autistic Werewolf. I want to ask a serious question. Don't get mad at me, hear me out, please. I want to ask you, are you creating conditions that teach your autistic child or that autistic person in your life, are you creating conditions that teach them to fail? And it's not something you do purposely. It is always inadvertent. It is a message that is sent that we don't necessarily mean to send, but unfortunately some autistic people, myself included, receive this message loud and clear from those neurologically typical people in our lives. You have to understand that as people on the autism spectrum, those people in our lives, those trusted neurologically typical people, those parents, those teachers, doctors, people that we hold in high regard, ministers, rabbis, shaman, whoever those people are in our lives that mean the most to us, how they respond to our autism, how they characterize their responses, all those things are vitally important in shaping our lives and shaping how we see ourselves. If you wonder why I always call myself an autistic werewolf, it is because when I was young, I was always characterized as the beast, the other. Can't you behave like the rest of the children? Do you always have to behave like a monster? Do you always have to do these things? Now that's the overt version. But if my autism related natures came out and they were things that upset the neurologically typical world, I would hear parents, doctors, people I respected say to me, "Wolf, be good. If you're good, I'll give you an ice cream. If you're good, I'll, let you watch your favorite television program." But see, the problem with linking the word good with performing as a neurotypical, as any autistic werewolf would do, because that's what you want us to do. You want us to perform and pretend to be neurologically typical. You want us to pass as neurologically typical. And that is the essence of what it is to be good when your parents say to you, if you're having a meltdown, if you're flapping, if you're doing anything that draws unwanted attention, your parents will say, "Now, stop doing that. Be good. Didn't I tell you to be good? If you're good, I'll give you a fruit cup." And what you don't tend to think about is the downside of that, the side that the autistic person lives in. You see, because that, if being neurotypical is good, then those times when we are living our authentic autistic lives, those times when we are responding from nature, the way our brain is wired. Now, yeah, for you it's a tantrum, but for us, it's confusion and pain and uncertainty and a whole bunch of other emotions rolled into one. We don't have tantrums because we like it. We have tantrums because that's what happens to us when those elements of self-control evaporate. And if being autistic and behaving in ways that are natural to us, if that's bad, then by definition, we're bad. How can you teach a child to be successful if half the messages that you send to that child is that when you are your authentic, autistic self, that's bad. If you flap, that's bad. If you arrange pencils or pens in a particular order, that's bad. If you play with spaceships when it's no longer age appropriate, that's bad. If you like things that most people don't like and you want to talk about those things, well, that's bad too. And after enough time has passed, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm autistic. And even to this day, when I go outside among the neurotypicals, I guarantee you I'll make at least 300 mistakes a day. 300. Some of them are minor, some of them are huge, but I'll still make them. And you'll get anything from that peculiar look to somebody cursing you out and saying, what the, heck is wrong with you? And it won't be that nice. And it is easy when so many people are reinforcing that negative image of yourself, that negative image of you. Because that's why I call it an autistic werewolf, because those things that are unique to people on the spectrum that make the neurologically typical people uncomfortable, those things are still us. That's why I call it the autistic werewolf, is because those things that scare some people, you go to a restaurant, your kid has a meltdown, and then there's some woman clutching her pearls because she's so afraid. And the thing is, but those things, those responses that we have, they are legitimate aspects of our autistic self. And if we're going to be successful, we have to learn to love ourselves even in those areas. That's why I call myself the autistic werewolf, because I had to learn to love myself even in those areas that upset other people, and in those areas that were places where other people wouldn't love me. When I have a tantrum, or when I melt down, or when I flap, or when I play with toys that are inappropriate, or when I do anything that for whatever reason some neurotypical somewhere says, why, that's inappropriate, I can't have that, I'm very, very upset, I'm frightened. When they do that, I still have to love myself. I still have to go on. I can't let every screaming woman or every screaming man, and yes, there have been screaming men. I can make a man scream just as easy as a woman. Matter of fact, some men scream worse than the women. But the thing, that's a video for another time. But the thing is, what I'm saying to you is, when you have an autistic child, you have to teach them to love their entire autistic self. And that means loving that side of themselves, that other side, that, well, like I like to call the werewolf side, the side that society has deemed inappropriate, or uncomfortable, or vulgar, or sick. And they have words that are even worse that I won't use. Crazy, mentally ill, And when People use those words and that's how they perceive you. If the people in your life that are important to you teach you that being neurotypical is good, being neurotypical is right, acting neurotypical is good, acting neurotypical is right, acting neurotypical is your goal. And yes, that's the case. That should be the case when you're out among the humans, when you're out among the neurotypicals. Yeah, you want to act like them to fit in. But always remember, it's an act. Always remember that the act does not define you. Who you are in your heart is what defines you. You act neurotypical so you can get along, so that you can make money in this world, so that you can live peacefully in your home. That's why you act neurotypical. You do it for yourself. You don't do it for Gail down the street or that woman clutching her pearls because, oh, she's so afraid. You do it for yourself. When you act neurotypical, you're doing it for yourself so that you can have a nice home, so you can have a nice job, so that you can have all the things in life that you want to have. Okay, and when you make a mistake and a part of your autistic nature comes out that scares people or make them clutch their pearls, you have to love that person too. You have to love that aspect of yourself too. And you have to give yourself permission to say to yourself, yeah, when I melt down, I'm still a good person. You may not see it. You may see a werewolf. You may see something that frightens you and makes you clutch your pearls and makes your eyes grow big as saucers. But you know what? It's still me. And you know what? I love that person too. I mean, I'm sorry if it scares you. It's kind of like turning into a werewolf when somebody doesn't expect it. I'm sorry if it frightened you. And I genuinely am. But I'm not going to hate myself because you say, well, you need to be neurotypical all the time or else you're a failure. No. There are going to be times when I'm going to slip up like any werewolf would, and you're going to see parts of my autistic nature that are going to make you uncomfortable and that are going to make you clutch your pearls and scream like a banshee. And I can't help that. I mean, I can tell you, calm down, it's not going to hurt you, And so if it's wrong to say to a child the neurotypical way is the right way and there's no other way, how do you address it? Being an autistic werewolf is about exercising discipline and control, or discipline over those elements that upset people in society. That's why I use the werewolf metaphor, is because you are exercising mental discipline and all sorts of other different types of disciplines to ensure that you present a picture to society that they're comfortable with, that will allow you to get the good job, to get the nice home, and to be successful. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's about. But if you make being neurotypical, that's the absolute worst thing you can do. Being neurotypical, that's the solution. Your child is not going to do well because they can't be neurotypical because they're autistic. That's like asking me to be a white man. I can try all I want. I'm never going to be white because I can't. I don't want to be, but the thing is, I never could be even if I did want to be. And the same thing with an autistic child. An autistic child will never be neurotypical because they can't be. They're never going to get it all right. They're going to make mistakes. Every so often, that werewolf is going to come to the surface, and people are going to look at it and go, "Ah, you ain't like us. You ain't like us. Nah, wait, you ain't neurotypical. You're not really neurotypical. You're not, kind of like in Star Trek. You're not of the body. You're not. Lawgivers, playing true." So that's the thing. You have to understand that, no matter what you do, you're never going to be of the body. You're never going to be of that neurotypical body. You're always going to be on the outside. And once you become okay with that, that's fine. But it takes time. So what do you do instead? You teach the child to manage their autistic natures so that they don't interfere with the goals that they have out in neurotypical society. If they are beginning to have a meltdown, you tell them you need to manage that. And then you give them constructive ways on how to manage their natures. You talk to them and you find out where their strengths are. What things, for me it was walking away. I could walk away easily. And as long as nobody followed me, I could eventually get myself back in check. If I had to physically stay with the person or stay around the people that were causing me stress and causing the meltdown, then I had to learn mental disciplines. Ways to divorce myself from the situation even though I was still physically there. That you would have to work out with your psychologist, with your psychiatrist, and maybe for a short period of time, medication may be advised. That's something, again, you'd have to talk to your doctor about. But what you are wanting to do is teach the child to manage their autistic natures so that they do not interfere with the goals and plans that they have in life. And that's the key to what it is to be an autistic werewolf. Yes, you're always going to have those things that make the world uncomfortable. You're always going to be, at heart, a werewolf. Something that disrupts and upsets and frightens, the neurotypical world. There's always going to be that woman waiting for your autistic nature to show so she can clutch her pearls and make a big scream and make a show for herself and give you quite the show for your money. And the truth is, it's always going to be a part of your life. Get used to it. Embrace it. And love yourself despite it. Love your full and complete autistic self. Love that person who has the tantrum, who from time to time is going to melt down. It's going to be a part of your life. I'm over 60 years old. It's still a part of my life. But guess what? I love Wolf. And if other people don't love me, I can live. And not only can I live, I can live well. But as an autistic child's parent, teacher, or other person important in their life, stop telling these children to be good when they have a tantrum. To be good when aspects of their autistic nature come out and it makes other people uncomfortable. Tell them you need to control that. You need to manage that so that people aren't afraid, because you're not going to get ahead in the world if people are afraid of what they see when they look at you. If they're afraid to interact with you, you're not going to get the opportunities you would otherwise get. So you need to manage that. It's not bad. It's just something you have to manage if you want to be successful out here in this world. Is that fair? No. Having autism is not fair because you have it a little harder. Other people become social and do all the right things that comes natural to them. You have to develop disciplines and systems and mechanisms and processes and ways to survive in this world that they don't have to. Is it fair? No. But that's the reality of your life. You were born, in a way, an autistic werewolf. So you are responsible for always making sure that people don't see the part that scares the heck out of them. Now, it's not all gloom and doom, because over time it becomes easier. You learn the tricks of the trade. A 60-year-old werewolf knows a lot more than a 30-year-old one. And a 30-year-old one knows a lot, a 30-year-old autistic werewolf knows a lot more than a 15-year-old one. There are a lot of shortcuts, and there are a lot of ways to get people to buy into what you need them to buy into to survive. But it takes time. And you have to study people. And you have to study the neurotypical world. And the neurotypical world is always changing, and you have to be prepared to change with it. But if you do those things, you will be successful. And parents, and all those that work with somebody that's autistic or have an autistic person in their lives, stop teaching them that being neurotypical is right. Stop teaching them that being neurotypical is good, because that implies that being autistic is bad. Teach them instead, you, like a werewolf, you need to manage your behavior so that you get ahead in the world, because that's the important part. You need to manage your behavior. You're a werewolf, and you have to manage it. You have to manage it so that those things that disturb people and make them want to clutch their pearls and tell you you're not of the body, you're not part of the neurotypical world, you're not of the body, you're not. You know, you have to manage it in such a way that they always think you're part of the body. You know, that you are part of the body neurotypical. So that, you know, so when they're talking about Landrew, you're right up there talking about Landrew too, just like you belong, even though you don't. You have to learn how to deal with it. And it's a Star Trek episode called Return of the Archons, in case you want to know what. It's the old series. There's a guy named Landrew, and if you did not conform to the society, you were considered not of the body. So that's where I get my little inspiration. All right, well, I hope this helped you, and thank you so very much. Everybody have a great day, and let me know what you think about this. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please leave the little notification, hit the little notification bell so that you're notified whenever I put things up. And I'm going to try to put a few more things up. And again, thank you all for listening to me. Have a great night.
You're not of the body.
Peace.
You're not.
To you,
You're
friend.
not of the body.
Joy and front.
Lawgivers!
Peace.
Lawgivers! Traitor!